and this is food. And today I'm going to show you how to cook this food. Today we're having steak. I love steak, and steak is really easy to make. It's also really easy to mess up. So what you're going to need, obviously, is steak. You're going to need a well-seasoned cast iron skillet, salt, not necessarily this much, pepper, freshly ground, it tastes better, and butter. Butter makes everything taste better. You're also going to need thyme. And I don't mean thyme as in a spice, I mean thyme as in you need more than 5 minutes to cook a good steak. Because what you're going to want to do is you're going to take the steak out of the fridge and let it sit at room temperature for anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes. Because when you take a steak out of the fridge, it's about 33 to 40 degrees. And if you set it in the skillet and you cook it on both sides at medium for 2 or 3 minutes, you're going to have a nicely charred outside and steak that's about 30 to 40 degrees. It's not good. It's still completely raw in the middle and not in a good way. So you want to take it out and let it sit at room temperature so that the whole steak's temperature comes up a couple of degrees. That way you put it in the skillet, and by the time it's nice and charred on the outside, it is an edible temperature on the inside, which the FDA says for beef is 145 degrees. So that's what I'm going to cook mine to. Get it? Okay? So that takes time. It also takes time because once you put salt on the outside of the steak, you want to let it sit for about 5 minutes. And that way it pulls out some moisture and some sugars on the outside so that when you put it in the cast iron skillet, you get a really nice char on the outside. If you just put salt immediately on it and flap it in there, you're going to get a little bit of charring, but you won't get nearly as much as you would have with a 5-minute rest. So 10 minutes sitting on the counter, 5 minutes with salt on it. That's how I'm going to do it today. All right, it's been sitting on the counter for about 10 minutes, so now we're going to season it. Now, I like to use kosher salt. It tends to pull out a little more, and it makes a nice crust. You also get the big flakes in there, so every now and then you get a big flake on your tongue, which is really nice. You don't want to overdo it, though, okay? Those are big pieces of salt, so it's very easy to, go crazy with it, and you're like, ugh, I'm just eating salt. Okay, freshly ground pepper. The only way to go with pepper, or else you might as well just kind of put some sawdust on your steak. Now, I'm going to flip these with tongs, not a fork, because if you stab it with a bunch of holes, when you cook your meat, all your juices are going to run out of those holes. So flip it over, flatten it back out a little, and do the same thing to this side. A little bit of salt. A little bit more salt than that. You want a pretty good, even coating on there. You don't want a lot of salt right in the middle. And pepper. Now, we're going to let this hang out for about 5 minutes. About 2 or 3 minutes from now, we're going to turn our cast iron skillet to medium and let it start heating up. Because it's pretty thick, so it's going to need a while to heat up to temperature. Okay, so our steaks have been hanging out with their salt and pepper for about 5 minutes now. Our skillet is rocket hot, so it's going to make a really nice crust on the outside. So here's what you do. You've got your crazy hot skillet, which I have tested by touching a piece of butter to, and it instantly sizzling. So you're going to toss that in there. Okay, you're going to swirl the butter around some. Make sure it gets, make sure your butter gets everywhere. Okay. You're going to take your steaks, which have been hanging out for a while. You're going to set them right into the cast iron skillet. And it will make quite a nice noise when you put it in there. Now, I let these go for about 4 minutes on the first side, and then about 3 minutes on the second side. But don't walk away, because you want to be able to kind of fiddle with this anytime you need to, okay? If the sizzling stops or slows down, you want to be able to turn the heat up. If the sizzling goes crazy, you want to be able to turn it down. And of course, if it starts smoking, you want to be able to turn it down. Okay? So I will check back in about 4 minutes when that first side is done. Well, I just realized that I filmed those last videos in vertical mode. So, videographers of the internet, please don't kill me. So we're just about done. I got about 5 seconds left on my timer. So I'm going to turn this around. Okay, so our timer is going off. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to take another piece of butter. Yes, more butter. I at no point claimed that this was healthy. It is steak after all. So I'm going to put the butter in there. Okay, and I'm going to move this. Look at that crust there. That looks great. Okay, and I'm going to make sure to get butter where that one was sitting, so we don't want any sticking. Now I'm going to turn it onto the other side. Okay, same thing with the other one. I'm actually going to kind of dip it in this butter over here first. Now I'm going to let it go on this side for about 3 minutes. Now I'm shooting for about 130 in the middle. Okay, that is a good, I think that's a good medium, maybe medium rare. I'm not sure. I'll have to check. But again, the FDA recommends you cook all beef to 145 degrees on the inside so to prevent foodborne illnesses. So if you are elderly or a baby who cooks, you might want to shoot for 145. Okay, so it's been another 3 minutes. So now I want to check the temperature of my meat just to make sure that I reach done range. You can do a trick where you poke it and you feel your hands. I'm not good at that. I like an instant read thermometer. It tells me exactly the temperature on the inside. Now, unfortunately, you do have to puncture the meat for this, but there's kind of no way around that. You want to get it right in the middle of the fattiest part. Okay. All right, so we passed the 130 mark, so that's all I care about, okay? Look at that, that looks nice right there. Now, what you want to do, you're going to take it out of the pan. Ooh, uh-oh, I think we hit FDA temperature with that one. Oh well. So now you're going to take it out of the pan, turn off the eye so you don't smoke up your whole house. And you want to let it sit here for at least 5 minutes, okay? If not, as soon as you cut into it, your juices are all going to come out of your steak, and you're going to end up with dry, gross steak. So let it sit here undisturbed. And I'm also going to show you how I make what I like to call bread that's terrible for you. Because bread isn't already bad enough for you. I take my bread. Oh, look at all this leftover butter. And I rub my bread in the butter. Okay, boom. Got some buttered bread there. Also got some nice beefy flavors. And while my steaks are chilling out, I'm going to put these in the broiler and brown them up. I'm also going to serve it with some soup. It'd be a good, cold, rainy day dinner, which is exactly what we have here today.